already live
Well, yeah.
on yours.
Because I'm a professional and I try to get us going as soon as possible because we have time constraints. Stephen, we both have work. Life gets in the way.
I'm the one that has the real job.
What do you mean? I just worked.
Yeah. What time do you start?
6?
What time do you finish?
8? What time did you start?
5?
What time did you finish?
6?
That is an early start. You know one thing that
Nah, it wasn't 5. It wasn't 5. I only started at 6 this morning. I just realised I was going to bite my tongue.
when I started coaching, the one thing I said, and I'm pretty sure I told Kush, I was like, one thing I'll never do is early mornings. I don't mind doing late nights, but I'll never ever coach people early mornings. Next minute, 6 a.m. every day.
Yeah, I promised myself I would never do a
4?
5 a.m. PT. I promised I'd never take a 5 a.m. PT. And I've taken a 5 a.m. PT the last 3 weeks in a row. Kills me. Actually, I took a 4:45 PT the other day after we went out to the buddy Tom Segura.
Yeah. Yeah, so how was that in the morning? Was that rough?
Wasn't too bad. And actually my little watch told me
You slept good?
that I slept really well. So I think because it takes into account not only the hours and solidity of your sleep, but what's going on with your autonomic nervous system while you're asleep.
Yeah.
I think because I was so tired, my brain switched off really well, so my autonomic nervous system worked out really well. Whereas the my other one, when I'm not actually that tired and going to bed, when you're not super duper tired, I think maybe my brain doesn't switch off very well. And that's probably partially because I don't give myself that wind down time as well.
Yeah.
But that's probably why. So even though my sleep hours were a lot lower than usual, the other side of it, the ANS system, was a lot better.
Do you find that because we have funny enough, we have pretty sedentary jobs?
It is funny that it's that way. Hey?
For what we do.
Yeah.
Do you think that, I know that if I've trained really hard, I've had a very physical day, because my other job is not as sedentary. I'm moving around and stuff, but it's still not a hard day's work. But if I wreck myself doing work or helping out, dad and that skit that the guy said about going to his dad's parents' house, having to sit down.
Manual labor.
Yeah. I laughed because I was like, last time I went to dad's house, he was like, hey, we're gonna lay turf, and I was like, Dad, it's the hottest day that Sydney's had in a long time. It's 49 in Penrith. It's 48 here, and he's like, yeah, but the lawn got
to Sri Lanka.
It's back in my day on the tea plantations.
Yeah, that's funny.
The British would never let us go.
Yeah. Yeah, it is funny that that's always how it ends up when you go over to, I get that way when I go to my grandparents' place.
Yeah.
Which it's fine because, my grandparents are not physically able to really do a lot of manual stuff themselves anymore. And, they make dinner for me a couple of nights a week and stuff, so it's only fair that I go and help out around the house and stuff.
Yeah.
But,
oh, yeah, it's definitely fair. The amount of crap my parents have done for me.
Oh, yeah, 100%. It's definitely fair, but you
it's
still
annoying.
feel... you still feel like you're being...
Used?
Wrongly used, yeah. But mulching garden or going out and watering the garden and stuff for him, just little things like that, which he tried. And then there's also things where I'm sitting in the living room or the dining room doing my computer work, doing programming, and I'll look outside and see my pop doing something in the garden, and I'll be like, you should not be doing that. I'll go out and do that for you.
Yeah.
Still trying to be more able-bodied than maybe he is anymore.
Yeah. Do you know what is another tough thing for me? Is because our work can be at home on the computer, it doesn't look like we're working. So people often ask me to hey, do you mind doing this? Hey, do you mind doing that?
Yeah.
And they don't quite understand when I get pissed off.
Yeah.
Because we have limited hours in the day. And every little time I take off to go do something, drop you off somewhere, do whatever, that's me not working.
Yeah. I've had this discussion with people a fair few times, and I think we might have even talked about it on the podcast. I really get the shits with people who they feel like they know what you do. So they see, yeah, we start at 6 a.m. or 5 a.m. or whatever, and yeah, we finish at 8, but all they see is that we have 5 or 6 hours in the middle of the day, and all they see is we're not working.
Yeah.
Because we're not at a place of work.
Yeah.
But that time, a lot of the time, is spent almost purely behind a computer. And
Planning,
and if it's not spent that way, then who cares? You worked 4 hours in the morning, and I'm going to work 4 hours in the afternoon. It's still an 8-hour day, just because you guys don't get up as early or finish as late.
Yeah.
You guys think that middle of the day. And I'm not going to lie, if you can handle like the lack of sleep a little bit, it is an excellent lifestyle job. Like for a little while there, I was getting up, taking morning classes, going and playing 18 holes of golf in the middle of the day, having lunch, and then going back to work.
You go to the beach, have a surf, you do like a lot of things.
Like you can do those things and it works really well. That being said, you do that for a couple of weeks and you're burning the candle at both ends and you know about it pretty quick. And then now, like at the moment, the last couple of weeks, we've both been pretty busy. So that middle of the day, you're still working. You're sitting behind the computer doing work. And I don't know about you, and other people definitely don't see it this way, but I now see training as not something that I want to do, like a luxury or something.
It's a job.
It's not even a job. It's not a job because I enjoy training, but it is.
I enjoy coaching. It's still a job.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. But I'm not getting paid for it. Put it that way. You are. It's 10 hours.
If you performed better, maybe we would pay you.
Yeah. It's 10 hours of your week that you spend training. It's not if I get around to it, it's that has to be done. So if you coach 30 hours a week, you program 10 hours a week, that's already a 40-hour working week. And then there's 10 hours of training that in your brain you have to fit in. Yeah. It's not if I can be bothered, it's that has to get fit in around everything else. So if people could realize that, it's not like we don't work.
Yeah.
And you're right, because people do message you and they're like, hey man, you're not doing anything in the middle of the day, right? Can you come help me move something?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, yeah, I guess I could, but it means I'm going to sit up till 10 to do work tonight rather than go to bed at 8:30 when I could.
Yeah.
But yes, I agree. It pisses me off. Did you know that was going to annoy me? Is that why you asked that?
No, because it's something I've been thinking about.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I mean, just to one up you, I actually have a full-time job on top of this stuff as well.
Yeah, that's true as well. You do have a full-time job. Although...
Is it?
You have a casual job.
That's true. I would say it's a casual job. It's not.
How many hours a week do you think you spend on Aquaria? In reality?
Probably 15, 10.
Yeah, okay.
Because there's also the paperwork side of that too.
Yeah.
And there've been times where I'm like, I should start an Aquaria podcast.
Yeah. Well, actually, I don't think we've ever given your Aquaria a proper shout out. Like, what if we have fish tank owners listening?
Yeah, clean it yourself.
Or pay Andy $400 an hour.
Yes. Yeah, my prices have gone up.
Yeah, it's because I want to work less. Well, I think was it you that told me once upon a time that you would rather charge out more so you can work less hours and just have less clientele, but at a higher price?
I would definitely, I definitely prefer that.
Yeah, for sure.
And then...
You realise that no one pays the price.
No, they do if you do provide a good service. But it's the same thing with this stuff.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of gyms are sustainable off PTs.
Yeah.
Because you charge out a lot of money, whereas group classes aren't as...
Money making.
Yeah. And that's what you'll find. That's what you actually find a lot of problems are with a lot of the CrossFit gyms around. Why they're not as profitable as people think they are.
Yeah.
Is because that even though they have a high amount of people in the gym, their charge out rate is still
very
less
low
than what the rent is.
Yeah.
We don't really do PTs here, and if we did, just probably 2-3 PTs a week would pay a lot over what the charge out rate.
Could you make paperwork more difficult? But a lot of, especially CrossFit gyms and stuff, will program their normal classes, and if someone comes in and does their class work, if they're paying a gym membership, they'll often give them much cheaper PTs than if you were to bring someone in regularly. I know PTs at Plus Fitnesses and stuff that charge out $90 for an hour for a 45-minute session,
Yeah.
or $110 for an hour's session, and that sort of thing. Whereas a lot of CrossFit gyms are charging like $60 for the hour, taking a $15 cut and paying the coach $45.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a lot of money, really. Do you think maybe would it be possible to flip the switch, and rather than saying if you're a gym member you get cheap PTs, you say if you're doing a PT a week you get a cheap membership?
Yeah.
Do it the other way around, charge people $100 for the PT session, but then they only have to pay $25 a week for the membership rather than $60 a week for the membership.
Yes.
And that works out better than going 60 and
40 or something.
40 or something.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll work. See, my problem that I struggle with here is that the value that we give the members itself is so high and individualized for the group sessions. In terms of like the amount of work that goes in, they're basically getting
An individual
PT.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, it's not a class, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Like, you coach it, you know what it's like.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like, to upsell to a PT is like, they're like, oh, why would I do that?
Yes. Yeah.
I've never tried to upsell anyone to
Yeah.
PTs because and that might be my own bias, that I don't see the value in a PT, even though there is definitely for some people.
For sure.
Like mum as a client will probably benefit from PT, someone like barrel focused on her, right?
Yes. Well, that's the other thing. Like, it's not, if someone's in for an hour, they've probably got your barrel focus for
Yeah.
8 to 12 minutes of that hour.
Yes.
Not the whole hour, which is big things. So I don't know how you do it, but I generally am like keeping it, if I'll change things if I see an issue going on here, but generally the Olympic lift or whatever their core lift for the day is going to be is where I'll spend that barrel focus on them.
Yeah.
And then if something happens to be going wrong throughout the session, like if, I don't know, Zophia's leaning forward in a squat, we'll go have a quick look at why maybe that's happening. Or if Brad's can't lunge, then we'll do that.
Yeah, I get that. And you're definitely better at that than I am at the moment. I'm like gotten pretty lazy.
It's just the environment though. It's just the environment. It's not that the environment's lazy, it's just that everyone comes in and they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So it's very easy just to pick on the big issues rather than
the little
deep.
finer.
And you got to remember, like, I still coach, like I coach 3 hours here and then I do 20 hours a week of either PTs or class settings.
Yeah.
Where like there's not really like, you know what I mean? Like over at the other gym, like I won't touch my phone for a whole class, whereas here, like, we're trying to take videos and stuff of people lifting, like, so you're always adjusting and doing that sort of thing. So I guess for me, I'm still very much in the habit of always trying to be on top of attention, because if you have 15 people in a class and only an hour, like, you got to try and spend 4 minutes of that hour with every person.
For sure.
Spread out. So it's always bounce, bounce, bounce. Whereas for you, it's a little bit more laid back, and that's just a habit. Because you were exactly like me when you took classes at the gym as well.
Yeah. Because that was something that I learnt from Nooks. You know, we were talking about
Yes.
people that you don't really see anymore. That like
Important,
he was like, when I first started coaching, I was like, hey Nooks, like, I'm starting coaching. A lot of the way I coach, I learnt from you and Rich. You guys were the biggest influences in my coaching career because you guys were the ones I looked up to. And he was like, you're very good, you have a high attention to detail. The one thing I'll tell you is this: there are more than 5 people in a class.
Yeah.
Don't spend time just on the 5.
Yeah.
Make sure every single person can take home one tip
Yeah.
that will move the needle forward.
Yeah.
And I've like changed the wording obviously of that.
Yeah.
But if every single person can be like, you know what, that was a good tip. That has helped me. That is something that I'm working on in this session.
Yeah.
Then it's good. And then one thing that I would tell new CrossFit coaches is, you don't have to have this, but you need to appear to have eyes at the back of your head.
Yeah.
If you can have really good peripheral vision
Yeah.
of what's going on in your class,
Yeah.
and
Good awareness.
people can notice that,
Yeah.
then people will talk about you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I don't want to toot my own horn. I
Yeah.
do. But like, once...
You are very good at it though.
Once, like, I remember Jay being like coming up to me and be like, hey man, like, I don't know how you did it, but like, you gave me this tip on my toaster bar and it really made a difference. But I didn't even remember you watching me. And I was like, yeah, like, because even though I'm coaching someone else, like, I've got the peripheral vision and I can see what's going on. And then, like, you're good at this, is like, you just know what the pattern that's happening. You've seen it so many times before.
Yeah.
So you can fix that.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, like, that was like 2 pieces of advice. Make sure that every single person in the class gets that bit of attention. And then the second one is make sure people know that you're watching them, even if you're not really
Watching them.
them.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yep. I agree. Do you feel like you need to use demonstration a lot in your coaching?
Not as much anymore.
Yeah.
I think that's something that young coaches do a lot. Probably because they can move better.
Yeah, that's for sure. I use a lot of demo stuff, but you also know who really benefits from actually seeing it.
Everyone learns differently,
yeah,
right?
Once you know your members, like, some people really need to see it. Some people are just like real kinesthetic learners and they need to just go through it 10 times on their own and then they'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And then other people just work really well with verbal cues and they understand.
I found videos really helpful.
People reviewing their own video?
Yeah.
Yeah, I find that helpful as well. It's
and that's
hard
something-
in a CrossFit class.
It is, yeah. That'd be
But
impossible.
here
to
it's
do.
awesome.
Yeah.
Or in fundamentals, like, I get my phone out to video fundamentals all the time for like a deadlift or something now. Fundamentals is just like a base session where we just teach the most basic stuff, even though I'm sure most of our listeners have probably been through fundamentals with me. So.
Yeah. You're really good at running fundamentals.
No, I was just saying most of our listeners are friends from gyms.
Yeah, no, but I'm just making a note
okay.
that, like, of anyone to run through a fundamentals class with, other than Nooks and me. No, you're
Rich
you're really
and
good. Yeah. No, like, everyone's good, but like, I like the way you do it. Yeah. Like, I would like to learn from you. I wouldn't like to learn from Rich. He's too back when I did it with him, he's too much like, you're gonna leave that class shattered. Whereas, like, if I'm shit at
So that's where Jamie gets it from.
shit at squatting or something, like, you'll probably like take away from the fitness side of things to work on that.
Yeah.
Whereas he would work on it, but then you're still doing parallel sprints at the end.
Yeah.
Even if it takes half an hour extra.
Yeah. Okay. I have a bit of a gripe to pick.
I do too.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm gonna go mine first.
Yeah, that's fair.
We're gonna move away from training for a second to say that Jamie and his brother and Jason and stuff, so our friends over at Espresso Bros,
Well, your friends.
my friends, your friends as well. Jamie's your friend.
I don't like them.
Oh, okay. Neither do I after this. They released their podcast again after like however long off the other
All
day.
3 of them together?
All 3 of them together.
Okay, I thought they all like stopped doing it.
Yeah, you would think so. It seemed that way anyway. But one of them, I can't remember who it was, decided that they were going to tell the talk about Sober October from Rogan.
Yeah.
And they were going to talk about Ari dosing Bert.
Yeah.
And that story, their recount of it, could not have been more butchered. It is incredible. Did you end up listening to it at all?
No. But no, I'll tell you later.
Gave, like, the entire time I was like, you're getting it wrong. That's wrong as well. That's wrong as well. That's wrong as well. That's wrong as well. Like, talking about how on the Sober October recap, like, they weren't even talking to each other. And I was like, they were. They definitely were. They were made up by then. And how he dosed him with acid. Dosed him with acid. And I was like...
Not ecstasy.
It was definitely not acid.
Yeah.
It was ecstasy. And how wherever they were recording the podcast or something, his wife and kids had to come pick him up from the podcast. And I was like,
at
nope, it was
home?
at his house.
Yeah.
And how, like, what was it? Like, he had to do shows that night or something. And I was like, no, it was the next day. And, like, all this stuff. And I was sitting there going, you guys are fucking this story. Like, it was killing me. Absolutely killing me.
So now you know how Trump feels about fake news.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Best president
terrible.
they've had.
That would annoy me.
Yeah, it
as
was
well.
annoying me. But it's not even like it doesn't matter at all. And
Yeah.
I hope Jamie listens to this.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't even one of the ones that was, he had no idea about the story.
Yeah.
But like, oh man, killed me. Absolutely killed me.
Yeah, like if you're gonna be a fan, be a fan.
Yeah,
Don't-
right. Be obsessive.
Yeah. Yeah, like I know so much about that because I listen to Two Bears, One Cave.
Yeah.
And all of the, like I've even tried to listen to Tom Segura's Espanol,
Have you?
but I was like, what am I doing this?
Do you listen to any of your mum's house?
I used to listen to
Do you like it?
I don't listen to it anymore.
Yeah.
Only because it's very silly. But then I listen to Two Bears, One Cave, which is the same.
Yeah, yeah. Two Bears, One Cave is very funny.
Yeah,
If you
I
haven't
really
listened
like
to
it.
Two Bears, One Cave, it's, I would say mine and Andy. You say Tom Segura is your favourite comedian?
No, Daniel Sloss.
Daniel Sloss, okay. Tom Segura is probably my favourite comedian.
Yeah.
And Bert Kreischer, he's in the top 10.
Yeah.
So he's very funny. He's very funny.
Tom Segura is my second favorite comedian.
Yeah. And they do it together, and they're both hilarious. And them together, they're like best friends. So them
Yeah.
together is
Very funny.
absolutely golden. It's so funny. So you like, especially if you're like a Rogan fan and you listen to the Sober October podcasts and you like those,
It's like that all
you'll
the time.
love Two Bears, One Cave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're very funny.
Do you listen to any of Bert's podcasts?
The Bertcast? Is that what it's
The
called?
one that Ari was on, that he dosed him on?
Did he put it up?
No. But have
Oh.
you listened to any of that podcast?
No,
Like,
no.
The channel?
No.
No.
Is it good?
It's funny. Yeah. Bert's good. Bert's very loud.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I kind of like him because they're best friends, but like Tom's like dry, sarcastic humor, which I love. Like we haven't even talked about going.
Tom Segura?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we went and I watched Tom Segura live on Monday,
Yeah.
and what did you think?
Oh, it was hilarious. Yeah.
I
That's
really-
actually, I watch a lot of comedy, but that's the first live show I've ever been to.
And do you rate it? Like, would you do it again?
Yeah, it was hilarious.
Worth
Yeah, I'd do it again.
worth the money, worth the time
Yeah,
spent.
for
going?
sure. Yeah, definitely.
I really liked it too. The
Mm.
Bert Kreischer
And I'll
was
still
good.
watch his special as soon as it comes out.
Yes. It was very funny. I would have liked to be closer
Closer
to the stage.
Did you feel like you were like kind of losing sight of his face?
Yes. Yeah,
Throughout
like
it,
I felt
yeah.
I couldn't see his face.
Yeah.
But I think that was just like the angle of the lights to us.
Yes, yeah. I was actually starting to look at it being like, do I need glasses? Like,
Yeah.
But it was just, I think it was the lighting, definitely. But yeah, hilarious. Absolutely golden. I won't, I'm pretty sure that'll be like out of that hour, probably 45 minutes of his special, at least. Definitely recommend listening to the special. Like
I'll watch
watching
the
the special.
special, yeah.
Hilarious when it comes out. When's it due out, do you know?
No idea. Probably next year. Because I think he's still touring with that for a little bit longer.
It's way earlier than that, isn't it?
I don't know.
I don't know. I thought it was sometime
Oh no, it'd be this year. Sorry.
early this
yeah,
year.
Early
Sorry,
this year. Yeah. Well,
Yep. I know they have release dates, but they haven't given them out yet. or
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Yeah, Netflix likes to do that. From what I've heard.
Yeah, just put it on.
Yeah.
Yeah, from the special that I did with them anyway, they were like, we're just going to release it, don't tell anyone. Anyway, what did you want to talk about? You had a gripe to pick.
Do you think it's pretentious
Yes.
to
Use the word pretentious?
read a book in public? Like, I get it. You can read.
No, I don't think it's pretentious.
Why don't you just do what everyone else does? Keep it
scroll on their
140
phone.
characters or less.
Yeah.
Just do it on your phone.
No, I don't think it's pretentious.
I do.
Do you? Why?
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like, showing off that you can read and we can't. and- Like,
Do you actually not like it? Does it bug you when you see it out?
kinda. Is that weird?
Yes. Is it because you can't be bothered to read a paper book?
I actually do read paper books.
Do you?
But, in the privacy of my own home. Maybe it's because because I read a lot of fantasy, so maybe I've always been a little bit more
Insecure
conscious.
about it?
Yeah, about reading fantasy in public.
Self-conscious? Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, I can see that, but no, I don't have an issue with it. Like, if I were to read, I wouldn't read it in public necessarily, but if I was going to read a paper book, I would like to do it out in the sun, like not sitting in my room with the lights on. Like, I'd rather sit outside and
That's
in sun.
fair.
Get some vitamin D.
Like if I go, if I'm in public and I see someone reading something like, you know, would you judge someone on what they're reading?
Yes, all the time. Yeah, 100%.
So like, if you saw like some old lady like 50 Shades of Grey.
That's exactly what was in my mind. And yes, yeah, I'd be like, but at the same time, good on you.
Good on you.
Yeah.
That's brave.
Yeah, yeah. That's the other thing. Like, well done to you, because you know what people are going to think. Like,
yeah.
If you can read, you're not dumb.
Then the other. I mean, if you're reading that book, you might be dumb.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I've never read it.
You see, no, I've read it. It's just like trash.
Is it trash?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
okay.
the worst writing I've ever read. Like, it's like a child wrote a book. You know, if you went to like, if you asked
Adjectives in the wrong spots.
no, it's like you asked a 12-year-old, be like, okay, you've done sex ed. You understand that the PP goes in the vajayjay, and then you're like, now I want you, like you somewhat understand romance because you look at your mum and dad, if you have them, or you look at just like TV, and then you say, now let's dial this up to 10, and I want you to write me a story about it, and that's basically 50 Shades of Grey.
Have you seen the movie?
Yeah, it's even worse.
Is it?
Yeah.
There you go.
It's terrible.
Why did everyone love it then?
The movies?
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't think they did.
No, I know a lot of people who did.
It's terrible.
Terrible?
Maybe they've never watched porn before. You get a lot more education, story, acting, better acting in pornography.
Yeah, good acting. The delivery guy always blows me away. Just before he gets blown away. Yeah, no, I don't think it's pretentious. It doesn't, and it doesn't bother me. But you're right. If I saw someone reading something peculiar, I would be like, that's interesting that you're reading that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it also works the other way. Sometimes I'd be impressed. I'd be like, wow.
Would you ever strike up a conversation based on a book someone was reading? Like, do you talk to random people though?
Is she good looking?
So if I saw someone, male or female, reading an author that I really liked, even though I've judged them for reading in public, I'd be like, holy fuck, like, there's some kinship here. And like, I would talk to them instantly.
Tom Segura would hate you.
Yeah, he would. Yeah. But like, it's the same thing. Like when I walk on the street, I see someone wearing Metcons, I'm like, that guy does CrossFit.
Half the time they don't anymore though.
Yeah, that's the terrible thing. Or if I see someone wearing lifters, I'm like, is this guy retarded? I can't say that.
Oh, perfect. Oh, goodness me.
But I have
hang on a second. Let's fucking revisit that. So everyone who thinks that I'm the dick on the podcast, Andy has just pointed out the most politically incorrect thing that's ever been said on the podcast. Andy
that's the most politically incorrect?
Yes, 100%. Andy just used the R word
I did.
on the podcast.
I don't really care.
Nah, neither do I.
It's a word that describes a backwards...
way of thinking.
Not way of thinking. Like, to retard something is to stunt or move backwards, right? So, in your thinking of like wearing shoes, if you wore
Hang on a second, guys.
lifters
I'm just going to
out,
go get Andy a bigger shovel.
if you wore your lifters out, you're retarded. But I'm also sorry if this offends anyone. Like, I don't mean it in the sense of like talking about people
Having
that
an extra chromosome.
Yeah.
No, that's Down syndrome, isn't it?
Yeah.
What even is... Anyway, we'll get off this topic.
Tell me more.
No, I don't actually understand the...
I think
I don't understand the chemistry behind all the physiological
They
difference.
use that to anyone who has like a mental handicap.
Yeah.
I guess they use it as like a umbrella term.
It
for
is
that.
an umbrella term, is it?
Yeah.
So it's not a thing on itself like
No,
Down
like
syndrome or cerebral
you could
palsy.
you could have anything, and people may have in the past said that to you.
Yeah.
But I am sorry, like I it's just a colloquialism that Actually, you know what? I'm not sorry. Screw
Yeah,
you guys.
don't be sorry. This is not a podcast for politically correct.
Yeah.
Okay, if you are easily offended by non-politically correct terms, it's probably not the podcast for you. Or it is a podcast for you, and you should tell all your friends how politically incorrect we are.
Yes.
As I said, doesn't matter, good or bad. If people hate us or love us, as long as they listen.
That's true.
Sometimes hate generates more publicity.
Well, speaking of like what I just said, like, let's say there was backlash. What is a punishment fit for my crime? Like, bad Andy. Or what do you think is a...
There is no punishment.
Okay. What do you think should be the punishment for a drug cheat?
A drug cheat? I think you should be banned permanently. I don't think you should ever be allowed to come back to the sport.
And then on a second note, do you like my segue to talking about drugs?
Again? We're going to talk about drugs again?
No, I just want to talk about punishment.
Okay.
In general, but like I want to also talk about drug cheat punishment.
I think it should be as severe as possible in the sporting world.
That's the only way to curb it.
That's the only way to curb it, yeah. If people know that they're going to be gone forever, if they cheat, maybe they won't cheat as much. I think people still will. Like, I don't think you're ever going to eliminate, especially from a sport like weightlifting, I don't think you're ever going to eliminate drugs now at the point that it's at. And the other problem is that the drugs themselves are always ahead of the testing, because until the drugs themselves get developed, there's no way to test for them. So the way that people dope is always going to be ahead of the curve, whereas the testing is always going to be a little bit behind.
That makes sense. How do you... Yeah, and that's the only way to make it fair too. But what about for like someone who has accidentally ingested...
Andy did air quotes, by the way, for those listening.
Yeah, sorry.
Sarcastic accident.
Yes.
Yeah.
Same deal?
Bad luck, same deal. Yeah, know what's going in your mouth. Like, it's... Unless you can prove that someone... now we're getting into sticky waters. I was going to say, unless you can prove that someone dosed you with it to get you caught or something like that. I was going to say, unless you can prove that. But that's like saying, unless you can prove... It's like innocent, like guilty until proven innocent, rather than innocent until proven guilty, which is what we try and base society on.
Yeah.
So it's hard. It's hard. It's hard. Because I guess if that's your story, that someone dosed me, then it's very hard to prove that. But then it just... I would feel bad if you were the one person that got dosed and that came out later on and you didn't get to compete in your career. But that being said, if you were to allow that as an excuse, it's very hard to prove that they weren't dosed.
Yeah.
It's very hard to prove that they decided to take it on themselves regarding, unless there's like witness testimonies and video footage. So it's almost impossible to prove that they weren't dosed. So it's just going to be the excuse that everyone makes.
You're protecting the most amount of people by banning the one.
Yes.
Right? Even if it was an unfair ban. I understand that. It's just very
Let's
sad.
blow that out to the ethical dilemma. If 100 people, 50 people are going to die if you don't shoot one person, but you don't have to kill the 50 people.
Yeah, they just die on their own.
They just die on their own,
Yeah.
but you have to shoot this one person to save them. Do you shoot that one person?
No.
No? So you let the 50 people die?
Yeah. What would you do?
I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like
I'd probably shoot the one person.
the tough thing is like...
There's a difference between you pulling the trigger and it just happening as well.
And is that person innocent though?
Probably.
Yeah,
Yes.
so like, what is the value of a life? If we say that life is the highest value, it's priceless, then infinity times 50 is still infinity.
Yeah.
So like, you've given up like a lot to save the same amount. Like, they're actually equal. Especially if you're not the person that's...
But if you look
the
at
50.
it, given the same theory, why does that not carry over to punishing drugs? Like, why is it okay to punish that one-off person that doesn't deserve it?
There's a difference between killing someone and banning them from sport.
Yeah, but like proportionately.
Yeah, I said the value of a life,
Yeah,
not a
okay.
value of a career.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that, but like,
Like if you said 50 people are going to lose medals because of the one person, I'll say, fuck that one person, let's ban him
yeah,
or her.
okay. Yeah. Yeah, okay.
That's the difference.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
then on the other end, that's a good question. That was a good answer, and I'm glad I had some sort of
Yeah.
thought process for it. And you could sway me.
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
just thinking like, you know what, like if I was to like decide in my head what could I do, I don't think I could kill that person.
Yeah.
As someone who has also dealt with like having someone close to me killed for the reason of like crime and punishment,
Yeah.
like that is
Yeah.
a rough like idea to think about.
Yeah. I can't remember. Do you remember the bus analogy? It's one
Yeah.
they use all the time. Do you remember what the first stage of that bus analogy is?
Yeah,
Where it's
so-
not you developing the.
So it's called the, is it the railway?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's like there's someone in the way of the railway car, you save them, and then you save them, but the people on the train die, or you don't save them and the train just goes over them and kills them.
Yeah.
And then the second one is there's a guy on a bridge,
And you have to push him.
and you have to push him. If you push him, the people on the train live,
Yeah.
the people die, or the cart analogy, something like that.
I remember how it goes now. Yeah. So you have. It's really good of like opening up a flaw in thinking.
Yeah.
Or how we dictate our morals. And that is, the first analogy is, I'll ask you the question. You have a guy standing on the railroad tracks, yeah, or he's standing on the road, yeah, and there's a bus full of people coming, okay, and there's a cliff at the edge after the guy. You can either leave the man there, because the bus driver's not watching, you can leave the man there and he'll get hit, that'll wake the bus driver up, and then he'll stop the bus before the cliff. Or you can save the man from being hit by the bus, but the bus driver won't wake up and he'll drive over the edge with 50 people.
Yeah.
What do? Do you save the man? Knowing those are going to be the outcomes. Do you save the man so that the 50 people die? Or do you let the man get run over so the 50 people live?
And so there are.
So then there's a second analogy, but I'm asking you to
Yeah.
answer the question.
I just want to like point out like the choices are either save the guy
Yeah.
or do nothing, but the point of the question is that do nothing is a choice.
Yes.
Like it's not like you're doing nothing and you're not culpable. Like you're watching that.
You've chosen to do
You've got to
nothing.
live with that.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
have to deal with the consequences
Yeah.
of that as well. Like that
Yeah.
person's life is in your hands as well as the
Yes.
bus. And the reason that this is important is because these kind of situations actually have to be programmed into life.
Yeah.
So it like that's why all these companies that deal with self-driving cars and automated systems,
Yeah.
they actually have to program these questions into their systems so
What
that they
decision
can
do you make?
what
Yeah.
decisions do they make. So like they're actually important not just for us but
Yeah.
for the wider world.
Yeah.
What would I do though?
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm a very wait and see kind of guy, so
Yeah.
I'd let the
get run over?
guy
So
run
that's
over.
the idea. That's how you're supposed to answer the question. You're supposed to answer.
Well, there's no right or wrong.
No, there's no right or wrong,
Yeah.
but that's how, not how you're supposed to,
Yeah.
but that's how the general population generally answers the question, because they see 50 lives as being more valuable than the one
Yeah.
off the top of their head, because you're supposed to answer very quickly. You're not
Yeah,
supposed to
yeah.
have as much forethought as what we just had. And then after you've answered that and you say, well, I let the one guy get run over so that the 50 people live, you go straight into the second question, which is there's a guy, a big fat guy, on top of a bridge in front of that same bus, and you now realise you have the opportunity to either let the bus keep going or to push the man off the bridge in front of the bus to stop the bus. And most of the time when you get people to answer it quickly, their answer is, well, I'm not going to push the guy off the bridge because then I'm committing murder. But then that's when, what Andy just spoke about, that's when you parallel the two things and say in both situations you've made a decision. Why is one decision any worse than the other? You still made a decision to end a life, or to allow one life to be ended in order to save 50. But it's just because your hand's on the trigger that you feel like it's different, but is it really different? That's the ethical dilemma of the question.
Yes. And if it's like the self-driving car analogy, then you have like the car is driving.
Yeah.
There is a child in the middle of the road that we have to swerve to hit. Swerve to hit.
Yeah, so this is actually where the question goes. There's a third scenario, isn't there?
Yeah, so like it's going to swerve to either hit or miss that kid.
Yeah.
But in swerving, you're going to hit an old lady.
Yeah.
What is
the analogy is the analogy itself. They actually then go, so if it's a self-driving bus, and there's no passengers on the bus, there's a worker standing on the road and the bus picks that up, but the only way it can avoid the worker is to swerve into a bus stop of people.
Yeah.
Do you allow the worker, how do you program the car? Do you program the car to swerve regardless of the situation? Or do you say that's what fate intended, so that's how you allow it to happen?
Yeah.
Like, what do you program into the car?
And either way, the company that runs is
fucked.
Fucked because they're going to be sued to the
for sure.
shit house.
Like when you're this is where it really gets tricky, and this is what you're talking about with life having an infinite value. If you say it's priceless, infinite times 5 is still infinite. Do you program a self-driving car or any automated system to look at a number value?
Yeah.
Because that's really the only way you can program it, right? Like there's really no other way to say, or do you say steer your path sort of thing? Is that how you program it regardless of the outcome? Because for me, if I was sitting behind a computer desk, I would be, the most ethical to me would be to program it off a number value.
Yeah.
But that's, you're always taking, there's no good answer, right?
Yeah, there's no good answer.
There's no good answer regardless of what you say, but to me, that's the most good answer.
Yeah,
The
so you're
least
like,
bad.
Is it the path of less evil?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to choose the lesser evil.
What would you decide on the first scenario?
First scenario?
Yeah.
I'd probably let the guy get hit.
Yeah. Second scenario?
I'd probably push the guy.
You would push the guy?
Yeah.
Third scenario?
I'd let it steer its path. See, I'd very much
Like fate.
off
Or the second one.
It's a numerical value.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It's just a numerical value to me. And there's always the discussion that breeds from that is that who's to say that one life that you allowed to end is not the most valuable to humanity out of all
That's
those?
true.
Like, what's to say
Elon?
that? Like, what's to say that one guy wasn't going to discover how we can reverse climate change, and the other 50 people were going to be bums for the rest of their life? Like, there's no way.
That's true.
Of doing that. What if it's a bus full of 50 murderers and it's an innocent person?
Yeah. What if it's a child versus
like how do you
group of
people with
old
a couple
people.
of years to live?
Yeah.
Like how do you value it? That's the thing.
This is an interesting one. Child versus terminal cancer patients in a bus. Like they're gonna die, but isn't their time left more valuable than the time of the child?
Is it?
I don't know.
Like,
like there's so many like ifs and buts and whats and who's like.
Sure. I realise I keep putting my hand on my chin, and it's definitely making it hard for the mics to pick me up.
That's okay. It's because you're thinking. You're deep in thought. Do we have?
Yeah, I have to. Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a crazy question. And I guess I implore people at home to just think about this, have this conversation, and see where you differ from other people. Because we're having this, and already, like, we've deviated. Like, I would let fate decide in the first one, as you would. But on the second one, I probably wouldn't push the guy.
You wouldn't push him?
No, I couldn't, physically. And then the third one, I'd just... paralysis by analysis. Like I don't know. I can't make a decision now.
I know it was poorly done, and it was like a little bit annoying to watch. But did you watch that Netflix thing, The Push?
No, what's that?
The Push, where so essentially they con someone from like a marketing thing to think that they are going to come in and help for this big fundraiser. And they bring him in and they meet this guy that's supposed to be supplying all the money, sort of thing. And basically they just lead them down a rabbit hole of getting themselves into a very, very bad situation, where they're like trying to hide the body of this guy that's supposed to be thin because he's had a heart attack, but there's a guy in there that's convincing them that like no money will be raised for the children if people see that this guy's died tonight, because it'll be a big thing. So let's just store his body in this box for now, and we'll handle it later. And then like I
have a regular nightmare about that.
Do they? Do you?
Yeah.
And then they go to move the body around for whatever reason. Anyway, you get led down this massive rabbit hole where you're now like an accessory to moving a dead body around. Like they've convinced them to kick the guy or whatever to make it look like he fell and whatever. So they've done all this horrible, horrible stuff.
And it's a documentary, like it's real.
Yeah. It's all this horrible, horrible stuff where there's a little bit of psychology behind it, like leading people into this path where most people would end up doing most of these things. But then the ultimatum at the end of it is you've done all this stuff, you're on the roof with a group of people that are all in on it as well and have all gone, oh fuck, we're all in so much trouble. And then the guy wakes up and he's alive and he realizes that like you've kicked him when he was asleep, and like you've hid his body in a box. Like you guys are all going to jail for a very, very long time, and you're standing on a rooftop and he goes to sit on the edge to have a cigarette.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's 4 people there, you're in this situation and there's 4 people there telling you like, you have to push him off. Like he has to die, like otherwise we're all going to prison. Like every single one of us going to prison for life for this. And like it was funny to see people being led into that situation and whether if they would actually push him.
And what was the end?
There's like 5 people and I think 2 of them pushed. And 3 of them were like, I just can't do it, I'll go to prison, whatever.
Yeah. Wow.
It was well done, like it was gripping, but it was like at the same time you were like, man, this is a little bit...
Long?
No, just a little bit underdone, the way that it was, like the filming and stuff.
Yeah.
But you could see it actually leading down that rabbit hole.
Probably because they had to hide the cameras and stuff a lot
everything
more.
had to be hidden.
Yeah. Wow. And was there any repercussions for the people that...
Pushed him?
Yeah.
No, it was just like...
Because essentially, like, they're still committing murder even if they don't commit murder, right?
Yes, yeah.
They still did all the bad things.
Yeah.
Wow, that's scary.
Watch it, it's called The Push.
Okay, I will. I remember hearing
Jamie
about
and Mike
something
got me onto it.
like that. But there is a study that they did a long time ago as well, where they had a glass. They led you into a room. You sat down with a button, right? And they led someone else past you into the back room, and they showed you inside, but then you came back outside so you could only hear the person. And they set them up in a chair to be electrocuted, and they'd say, hit the buzzer, you have to, otherwise like this person is a bad person, whatever, like their rationale. Hit the buzzer again. Hey, like it's okay that you hit the buzzer because we're telling you to hit the buzzer. This is research. And like they would keep dialing up the intensity until the person dies. And it was a test to see like
how far you can push people.
How far you can push people if you take their responsibility away from them. Because this is a study to see how terrible acts of genocide, of terrible war crimes can be put off by people shifting blame for their actions to someone else.
I have seen that study. Yeah, I read about it.
Which is crazy. And if I saw you reading in public that study, I'd be like, is that guy reading an abstract?
Without a highlighter, he's obviously not studying. Does it bug you when people study in public?
No.
Then why is it?
It also doesn't bother me that much. I just think it's pretentious to read in public.
Okay. Right.
I'm just really judgy right now.
As long as we're on topic about studies, I had a good conversation yesterday about one that I did with a group of German lifters. We're going to go back to a training podcast now.
Okay, fine.
For the last 10 minutes. That they tracked the load of athletes throughout a training cycle.
Yeah.
And the load that they tracked for half of the people took into account just their lifts and everything that they did. But then for the other half of the lifters, they accounted for loading their bars as load towards their session.
I don't understand what you mean.
So like them picking up their plate and putting
That counted as a
plates
load?
that counted as part of their load
Yeah.
for their training volume. And their training volume was, if you looked at like tonnage,
Yeah.
was up like 50% on everyone else. So the end of the study, like part of the theory was if you were coaching an individual athlete,
You should load the weight for
No,
them?
not you should load the weight for them, but that would, like, you could almost, a deload week would almost be just you loading their plates for a week. And that would be enough
'cause it'd reduce
that
the
would be
tonnage so
enough to
much.
deload their deload. It would be enough of a drop in stress to actually get a deload out.
Huh.
Interesting, because you think about how much, like my back jacks up loading plates.
Yeah. Have you ever tried to load the 50s?
No, I can't deadlift that.
Yeah, wow, that's very interesting. And it's like, so the Chinese definitely, Chinese weightlifters definitely take that into account. Because you see them lift, they very rarely use 25s or 20s.
Yeah.
And that's why their loading looks so poor. But I've heard them speak about the rationale behind that as
You
being
speak
like
Mandarin?
it's less, yeah, I do. Sure.
Nah.
Less load on their bodies, so that's why they load that way.
Yeah. Does Bo speak fluent Mandarin?
No, Bo's Lao, so he speaks
Oh, he's
French.
Lao. Okay. Does he speak fluent French?
Yeah,
Oh, there you go.
JP also speaks French.
I thought when you guys went to China
China.
for his lifting, I thought that he was going like home.
We went. No, we went all around.
Okay.
But like I
I thought that's why
most
he
of it.
wanted to take you there was because it was, but it was just because he was lifting.
Yeah, like he's just like, it was actually really difficult for him because they would speak Mandarin to him.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, I do not understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm not Chinese.
Yeah. Okay.
And then he, like, for a lot of the conversations, like, I'd have to do it because they wouldn't even try with me.
Yeah.
And then I'd be like, no, actually, I can speak this.
I speak Mandarin.
Yeah. I don't really.
Very broken Mandarin.
Yeah. I did learn a lot when I was there. Like, I could figure things out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think if I was trying to learn another language, I'd have to do, like, an immersion camp or go live somewhere.
That's often the best way to learn it anyway.
Like, force
Forced
yourself.
to. Like, otherwise you're not going to understand shit. So,
Yeah.
But yeah. Do you want to leave it there?
Yeah, I thought that was a good episode.
Yeah, that was good. I liked it. Did we end up even covering off the things that you wanted to cover off?
No,
No? Okay.
we didn't even get onto it.
So next episode we're going to talk about...
Education.
Okay.
Can girls and boys be friends?
Ah, yeah, that's a good one.
And
No.
yeah, I guess that's really it. Anyway, you can find me, Andy, at Train with Andy on Instagram. You can find Steve at Steve Norman 250 on don't do it. Okay, I'll do it for you. At Steve Norman 250 on Instagram, and you can follow Uneducated Opinions at Uneducated Opinions on Instagram. Make sure you check us out on our YouTube channel. Click that subscribe button, and as well as the notification bell. That way you see when the next episode is out. Wherever you're listening to this episode, please comment below that, like it, share it. That's the way the podcast grows. Thank you to everyone who, first off, reaches out. It was cool that Kim watched the episode on Facebook.
Yeah, that's
like
cool.
he watched the entire
Yeah.
thing. So thanks, Kim, for watching that. If you watch another one.
Thanks Lachlan as well for tuning in as well.
Yeah,
I feel like
awesome.
I should give you a shout out. You mention it all the time.
Yeah, give any of you guys that listen to it, make sure you let us know that you listen, because it's just really cool. That
Yeah, it's cool to know that our friends are listening to it. Alrighty, thanks guys. See you later.
See you later.